All lines have been placed on mute to prevent any background noise. If you would like to ask a question during today's conference, please press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. To withdraw your question, please press the pound sign. I would now like to turn the call over to Mike Kern. Please go ahead.
Thanks, Stephanie. And we do have our first coach on the line. It's Greg Lansing of Indiana State. The Sycamores playing at Drake on Wednesday, returning home on Saturday to face Bradley. Both games are available on ESPN3. Good morning, Coach.
Morning, Mike. How are you?
Good. Well, let's talk about Drake, your next game on the docket. They've played with a renewed enthusiasm since late December. Talk about the Bulldogs, and then we'll open it up for some questions for you.
Yeah, I'm really happy for Rhett. I've known him a long time, and I would think that any coach that's ever spent any time around him or worked with him can tell you just how good a guy he is, and just really happy he's getting this opportunity. And he has breathed life into this team. They're getting more offensive possessions, playing faster, shooting that three, switching things up a little bit. So he's got them really playing well and confident. You know, it's a good team. We have our hands full.
Thanks, Greg. Let's get now to the questions for you. Questions from the media.
Our first question is from Todd Golden with the Trip Star.
Hi, Greg.
Hey, Todd.
Hey, you kind of prefaced my first question. I mean, maybe in a little bit more detail, what are you seeing, in terms of a change out of Drake and some of the positive things that they've done to get back on track?
Yeah, they're playing faster. They're spreading you out with the ball screen motion, really relying on shooting the threes. They're mixing defenses, 1-3-1s, and they're man-to-man, and just putting a lot of pressure on you. They can really stretch you out. They got a bunch of guys that can make shots, and then they got guys around basket that can score too. We've been hurt by them in the past with that, and changing the defenses and just trying to speed you up, make you take a quicker shot so they can go run it back at you. So just playing a fun way to play. I think that's the biggest thing with those guys. You can see they're enjoying the style in which Coach Rutter's been having them play, and it's really helped them.
You mentioned the changing defenses, and that's something I've noticed as well. How do you prepare your team for that to be ready for the different looks they're going to throw at you?
Yeah, towards a little bit before Christmas, you've been around. We played a little more zone in practice, worked against it a little bit. We played some zone, very little, but we played some. So we've been working on it more in practice. And with the 1-3-1, it's a different. You don't see it every day. But we'll be working against it. We have worked against it some this year, and we've done our own. And you can't let the defense, reading the defense, freeze you and stagnate you. You got to keep moving. We want to attack a defense for its set anyway, but keep your spacing and just notice and play with a high IQ on what we're trying to do against either man or zone.
What kind of approach do you take with your own team this week to prepare them for this game?
Oh, it's just we got to control what we can control. Our record is what it is. We haven't won a game in the league. I think we've had a really tough schedule, but we are what we are, and we have to perform better. I've really only been disappointed. I was greatly disappointed on how we played in the first half the other day. That just wasn't us, and we can't let that happen again. But we've done some good things. We've been lost 2 overtime games. We lost to Wichita. Illinois State's one of the best teams in the league, so we can't hang our heads. The only thing we can do is try to get better today and try to get one on the road against Drake. We just need some things to get going our way, and no one's going to feel sorry for us. We have to make the changes, and the things that are creeping up and beating us in most games has been repeated. And I got to do a better job of getting these guys ready to go and stressing what's the game plan and what's most important and how we need to play. And I still believe in these guys, so we're going to keep working.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Todd.
Your next question comes from Dave Reynolds with the Peoria Journal-Star.
Hey, Greg.
Hey, Dave.
Just to follow up with what you were saying about your team, can you break down a little bit what's not been going right? I just looked at the stats. Looks like rebounding has been an issue. Would that be the case? Is there anything else?
Yeah, we've been hurt early in the possession, whether it be their transition, and we've been hurt at the end of possessions. In the half court, our defense has not been that bad. It's not as good as we need it to be to beat the good teams in our league, but we have to be able to get back, not give them anything easy, and then not give them second opportunities. Our stats are just awful. Whether it be a free throw, whether it be within the half-court defense, we are not rebounding the ball the way we need to. And then offensively, we've done some good things. We've scored the ball. We've moved it. We just have to continue, maybe change a few things here and there with what we're doing. But offensively, we just need to have ball and man movement, keep attacking people, no matter what defense they're running. But the biggest things is the defensive end with transition and rebounding.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Your next question is from Harry Schroeder with the Valley Hoops Insider.
Greg, when you guys are going through a difficult time kind of like this, often we're thinking, okay, what guy is going to stand up and kind of be the leader? And obviously Brenton is your leader, meaning he's the guy that scores the most. But are there guys that you're looking to for internal leadership, certain players?
Well, any good team's got great leadership. Your chemistry is good. And our guys are questioning themselves a little bit. Shoot, the staff questions themselves, and I've always relied on the upperclassmen to be the leaders and to bring the team along. And I think if the coach is the only one doing the coaching right now, then you're struggling a little bit. Your team isn't what it needs to be, and that's where we're at a little bit. Our guys know they have to step up. Our seniors and Brenton, Brandon Murphy, those guys gotta help these young guys along, but they also have to quit making the same mistakes themselves. So it's a lot of us. It starts with me. I've got to do a better job. We've got to get these guys better prepared, and they got to believe in each other. We have to play together instead of, when adversity hits, that we worry more about ourselves than anything else. So it's a lot of those things, but there's no coach that's playing on the floor. It's the guys that are on the floor that have to continue with their leadership. And we got guys that can do it. They've done it. They've shown they can do it. I believe in them, and we're just going to keep working at it.
Thanks a lot, Greg. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Coach, that was your final question. Thanks for your time this morning. Good luck this week.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Rick. Coach Ben Jacobson of Northern Iowa is on the line. The Panthers will open their week with a game at Bradley on Wednesday, returning home Sunday to play Drake in the McLeod Center. At this time, we'd like to welcome Coach Ben Jacobson to the line. Morning, Coach.
Hey, yeah, good morning, Mike. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Can we just hit rewind Lansing's last 5 minutes and hit play and cover my 5 minutes? Is that possible?
That might be appropriate.
It sounds like we're going through some of the same things.
Yeah, last year your team did start off 2-6 in league play. Obviously rebounded and made the NCAA tournament, won the conference tournament. Any similarities to the start to league play from last year to this year? Obviously, a completely different team.
Yeah, that's not really. The teams are very, very different. The three seniors last year had the experience of the year prior. Morgan being a fourth guy who had played a lot. So we had four guys that had been a part of a NCAA tournament team, and so it was just a matter of getting a couple younger guys to play a little better, to go with those four guys. And this year we don't have that same number of guys that have the experience from a year or 2 years prior. So we're just we got a lot of young guys that are playing. And at different times, they've played pretty well, but they got a lot to learn, and they got to keep getting better. And then we just need to get, with Cook and Carlson and Jeremy, those guys need to work to play at a high level every time we step out there. And we saw a little bit of it yesterday. Carlson had to put together a really good game. Cook was really good early. So we played a little better yesterday, Mike. So I think we got a little something we can build off.
Great. Thank you, Coach. Let's get now to the questions for you. Questions for Coach Ben Jacobson.
Our first question is from Todd Golden with the Trip Star.
Hey, Ben.
Hey, good morning, Todd.
Hey, I had a question. I was wondering what value you put in redshirting, maybe in relation to the way you may have approached it 5 or 10 years ago with the graduate transfer rule and some other things. Is the decision the same as it was, back when you first started being a head coach?
Yeah, in a lot of ways it is, and you mentioned the graduate transfer rule. That has forced us to think about it a little bit differently. And at the end of the day, though, Todd, we've continued to redshirt guys at every opportunity, and sometimes guys have come into our program. I think about Johnny Moran and Seth Tuttle and Jawan McLeod right now. So those guys have come into our program, and they've earned those spots, and they've been starters, from day one. And for the most part, started their entire careers. And we've had guys do that, outside of those guys. And that opportunity is always going to be there, for guys that come into our program. But if it isn't that type of situation, Todd, redshirting guys has been one of the reasons we feel like we've been able to have success year after year. As guys, Clint Carlson's a really good example. He redshirts, he doesn't play much, and then all of a sudden, with a month and a half to go in the season last year, there's a lot of people, for sure nationally, and even some people, in our league, and with good reason, don't even really know he's on our roster. And here he comes, and now he starts playing good, and you look him up, and he redshirted, and I think you find that a lot with our guys. So it continues to be a very important part of our program in terms of the development and having consistency and having guys be here and understand what it takes to have success at this level and have success nationally. The graduate transfer deal has forced us to think about it. We've had that conversation, but at the end of the day, Todd, we're going to continue to do it the way we've always done. And if a guy comes in and earns a spot and he's going to start for us, then he's going to start for us as a true freshman. That's great. If not, we're going to look hard at taking a red shirt and having guys around here for a while.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Todd.
Your next question is from Dave Reynolds with the Peoria Journal-Star.
Hey, Ben.
Yeah. Good morning, Dave.
Hey, I know you said to just hit rewind on Greg's comments, but can you kind of detail what's gone on with your team here at the beginning of conference play and what signs you're seeing that they're snapping out of it?
Yeah, you bet. Lowhouse's injury, has set us back a little bit. Has forced some of the first-year guys into more action. He hurt it in the first game. He battled through the Orlando tournament. And we played really good out of the gate and played good against good teams in that tournament, and he was a big reason why. He just his experience in that backcourt. He's a guy that's going to play 25 minutes give or take, and another guy that can handle it and score it and make some plays for us. So him not being in the lineup, and again forcing some of those first year guys into more minutes has been part of it. But what I would say, and I heard Lance say the same thing. Everybody has injuries, and you have to have the ability as a team to rally the troops and get through those and still play well. But that's one part of it. And then finding, like I said, Carlson had a very good game yesterday. He went for, I think, 12 and 10 and had a couple opportunities on the three-point line. He could have easily had 15 or 18 and really had a nice line. But more important than that, he put together a game which he was really aggressive. And the consistency from Cook and from Carlson is something that we're looking for and we're hoping to get to. Both those guys played better yesterday. But after those two and Jeremy with Lohaus out, Dave, it's a lot of first-year guys. And, as we all know, first-year guys make mistakes. And until they're out there and until they have some games under their belt, making what seems like a really easy switch on a play, and you can do it for 2 days in practice, and you can go through it, and they make that switch. And when the game gets going and you've got two first-year guys involved in that exact same play, making that switch is really hard. And, those types of simple plays that you work on for a couple of days, they don't always translate into the game when you're playing first-year guys. And I obviously, with Brian and their team and what he did last year with a young team, and they've got a young team again this year, I know he understands that, and I know you certainly understand that, Dave, as well. So yesterday gave us something a little something to build off. We played better yesterday, as good as we've played in about 2 weeks. So.
And just to follow up on Lohaus, what is his status at this point?
Yeah, he is still not been able to practice, so he would not play on Wednesday.
And then I heard Jeremy hurt his ankle in the Wichita game.
Yeah, he did. He came down on it in the second half, and he's pretty sore this morning. So it's I would really doubt that he'll practice today or tomorrow, Dave, and be a game time decision. It sounds like he got it pretty good yesterday in the second half.
Okay, thanks, Ben. See you tomorrow.
Yep, thanks, Dave.
Your next question comes from Harry Schroeder with the Valley Hoops Insider.
Well, I was going to ask you about Jeremy's ankle too, but let me ask you a different question about him. He's had to do so much for you. Is he wearing down just a little bit prior to the ankle? That's number one. And then number two, I watched a lot of that game yesterday, and I thought you guys did play well, but how good are the Shockers this year? Can you compare them to previous teams you've seen of theirs?
Yeah, Jeremy has had to do a lot. But with being able to rest him some at practice, Harry, he's been fine. He's been able to keep up with his conditioning, and he's like everybody else that's playing a lot of minutes. He's banged up a little bit, but going into the game yesterday, he really felt good. So he's doing fine physically, other than the ankle that he tweaked yesterday. And Wichita is very good. And they've come a long ways, already this year. Early on, you could see him kind of searching for rotations and right now, they're playing a lot of guys, and when they go to that bench area, it just doesn't change. They've got different combinations, and at one point, they can put Frankamp and Shamet and the freshman guard out there, and so they've got three guys that really shoot it. Another time, they can go with a different lineup, so they're even bigger with McDuffie and a couple of the other guys at those spots at the 2, 3, and 4 that are anywhere from 6'5" to 6'8" and can do so many things defensively, and then they got three guys playing that center position. So they've got, with 10 or 11 guys on this year's team, and it doesn't have the same feel as the teams the past 2 years, maybe 3 years, with what Baker and Van Vliet were doing, and they were always the ones being talked about. This team has got tremendous depth, and in the game yesterday, we played well for 30 minutes. We did a good job, and Wichita came in here and did what good teams do. They played better than we did. They had different guys make threes. They had different guys scored around the basket. And then defensively, that size and length with the team that they have this year, that is a real difference maker. They rebound it like they always do, but the size and length defensively to stretch out and deny passes, to take up what looks like is going to be an opportunity for your offense, they take up space there. So, between their depth and the quality of their depth and that size and length, and then they got some young guys that really shoot it, this is a good basketball team.
Thanks, Ben. Good luck.
Yep, thanks.
Jack, that was your final one. Good luck at Bradley on Wednesday. We'll talk to you later.
Okay, see you, Mike.
All right, bye-bye. And we'll segue into the Bradley head coach. Brian Wardle is on the line with us and hosting Northern Iowa on Wednesday. Later in the week, the Braves will travel to Indiana State. Morning, Coach.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Good. Let's get right to the questions for Coach Brian Wardle from Bradley. Questions from the media.
Press star and the number 1 to ask your question. Star and the number 1. Again, that's star, then the number 1 to ask a question.
Brian, Jake referenced it earlier about the youth of your team, and certainly another young team this year, but talk about the progress they've made. You're sitting at 2-2 in league play after the first 4, but talk about the progress your young guys have made.
Well, when you look at our Valley play, I've been impressed just statistically with our 4 of our newcomers are our top 4 statistics scorers. And that's, we've talked about it as a group that we need more consistency from some of our returners. And even though they're still sophomores and only have 1 year under their belt, and it was an up and down year, obviously, in a struggle, they're better than what they're playing right now. And we just got to find that consistency. But it's been about how we respond after wins this year that's been disappointing to me. And I've really dug in. I wouldn't say I'm a big head coach on like looking at stats and breakdowns, analytics and all that, but I have looked at our stats in our wins and then following up the games after our wins. And there's a pretty telling difference in just our mentality as a group, which I got to coach better. I got to get, and I've emphasized with our team already, is just we play unselfish and we have each other's back. on the defensive end and on the offensive end. We're not taking bad shots or we're not play busting. We're executing and playing for each other. We're better. We're a much better team than we were a year ago, and we're going to be competitive. But when we don't have the right mentality of complete unselfishness, of we got to play to be the most together team on both ends of the floor, multiple efforts defensively, sharing the ball offensively, then we come back right after and we lose. And so finding that right mentality every day is part of our maturity process, but we got to really nip that in the butt right now. Because I caught the end of Ben. They played really, really well, I thought, for 30 minutes yesterday. And they're still a very scary team. They have a great coach, and they have very, very good players that have won and come from a winning program. And we're going to have to be even sharper on Wednesday.
Thank you, Coach. We do have a question in the queue for you.
Our question is from Dave Reynolds with the Peoria Journal-Star.
Hey, Brian.
What's up, Dave?
I just wanted to follow up with you on UNI thoughts. How different of a team are they this year from last year? Do you see a big difference now that they've got a lot of new guys?
Well, I think, they're not as I would say they have some experienced players, but they're not as deep in experience. They got some young guys that are playing some significant minutes, so you do see some inconsistencies there, but their top three, when you look at Cook, Carlson, and then obviously Morgan, they still got three winners that know how to win and have won one big. But I just think they're finding continuity and finding that consistent play. I think is big with a lot of teams, and especially going into league play 4 games in, teams that have struggled a little bit are trying to find that. But looking at them and watching them yesterday and studying film this morning, they're still a very scary team with explosive players that know how to win, and it's going to be a great challenge for us.
Thank you.
Our next question is from Clay Cunningham with the Waterloo Courier.
Hey, Coach. Just curious to know what your reaction was to Coach Jacobson saying that Jeremy Morgan would be a game-time decision with his ankle injury, and just does that in any way alter your preparation for Wednesday's game?
Well, obviously he's a huge piece to what they do this year and have done in years past, but we're going to prepare like he's playing. I think that's very important. We got to do, obviously we let Milton Doyle get going in our last game, and he had a career night against us, and we have done a decent job of that as a program of taking away the other team's best player, and we're going to prepare like Morgan's going to play. He's a tough young man. I saw the ankle sprain, and it was an unfortunate play, but we have to prepare like he's going to play because he's such a key part. And if he doesn't, then we'll adapt and adjust before the game. But it's going to be something where we got to prepare to not let the team's best player beat us again like it did in the last game.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Brian, that was your last question. Thanks for your time this morning, and good luck against Northern Iowa Wednesday.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach. Paul Lusk of Missouri State is with us now. We welcome the coach to the phone. Good morning, Paul.
Morning, Mike.
The Bears will open up the week with a home game against Evansville, and then we'll play at Loyola this weekend. At this time, we'd like to welcome questions for Coach Paul Lusk, questions from the media.
Press star and the number 1 to ask your question. Our first question is from Todd Golden with the Trib Star.
Hi, Paul.
Hi, Todd.
I wanted to ask you about what your philosophy is on redshirting. There's some different elements that didn't exist 5 or 10 years ago, notably the graduate transfer rule being a big one. But what's been your philosophy, and has it changed due to some of these things that have developed over time?
I think it's great. I don't think you can think, while it's on everyone's mind that you could lose a guy your 5th year, you have to do what's best for the young man and what's best for the program. So we're certainly open to doing that. Now, we haven't been able to do that a whole lot when you're just, when you're fighting and trying to win games and you don't have enough depth, or you've mentioned injuries. I know that was talked about earlier. But I think it can only help a young player. socially, academically, athletically, across the board.
Have you noted any players that have gotten to that fifth year and maybe, I don't want to overuse the term burnout, but that they've gotten to that fifth year and maybe they are ready to go, and maybe the red shirt year may have contributed to that? Have you had any instances of that in your time?
No, I mean, there's a lot of mileage. College basketball is hard, though. I mean, that would be something that would be interesting to look at. I think you could look at it the other way, though. I mean, we've had cases. I know when I was an assistant where there was one kid in particular that Coach Painter said, "Man, if we would have redshirted that guy and had him for another year, it would have helped him because it took him some time." So I think I haven't looked at it the other way to where 5 years is too long, and a guy's burned out. So I'm not certain about the answer to that question.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Yep.
Your next question comes from Daniel Alar with the Evansville Courier and Press.
Hey, Paul.
Hey, Dan.
I wanted to ask about your two junior college guys that are leading you in scoring. What have you been able to do, I guess, to integrate them into a pretty experienced team with bringing a lot of guys back?
Well, I think I don't know how experienced we were. We played a lot of first-year guys last year, and they got a lot of experience through all those growing pains, and they had some good moments too. But I think it was just a matter of we had an opportunity for guys to come in, and we were coming off of a losing season, so whoever earned the minutes were able to get it. So our new guys have been good. They've earned their spot. They've had good moments. They've had bad moments, but they've been good additions to our program.
And it seems like Alize Johnson has a little bit different skill set than a lot of guys in the Valley with his size, rebounding, and still the ability to shoot threes. Is there anyone you can kind of compare him to within the last few years in the league?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. He's a good player. We're thrilled to have him. He really plays hard. He rebounds. The interesting thing about his three-point stroke is he's worked really hard at it. It was a little bit of a set shot when he got here, and he's put some time in. And I think just across the board for him, he'll continue to get better. He's a worker. He's very coachable. Obviously, he has really helped our program. With being that skilled forward that can dribble, and he can make passes. He's a good passer. He can lead the break. He's getting better with his back to the basket. He chases the ball, so he helps us in a lot of areas, and he's eager to learn. He's eager to get better.
And with Evansville, I know they had the same core group the last 2 or 3 years. Is it kind of just preparing the same way for different guys in different spots, or how do you kind of compare?
Yeah, they're a system. They're a system team, and Marty does a tremendous job offensively. They're very good, and they always have very good scores, and they're always very good with their assist-to-turnover ratio. They play hard. They get good shots. Jalen Brown is as good as anyone in the league on both sides of the ball. I think Dwayne Gibson is a guy that's been in a lot of games. He missed last year, but he's excellent defensively, and they'll guard you on the other end. So they present a lot of problems, especially if you've got a team that just hasn't guarded that kind of stuff, and you've got a lot of new guys, and they cause problems for you. They're very good at what they do.
All right, thank you.
You bet.
Your next question is from Harry Schroeder with the Valley Hoops Insider.
Hey, Paul, I know you don't want to dive into Ronnie's personal stuff, but how does that affect what guys have to fill in those roles that he was filling in before? And then along those lines, Kendricks went from being a guy who, contributed just a little bit, then he was on the all-improved team, and now he's not on the floor much. Can you talk a little bit about him?
Yeah, well, I think the question about Ronnie, Harry, that's a great question, and we have to adjust. And since all this has happened, we haven't had much time to practice. But, you know, when you take a guy like him off your team, it has helped Daquan for him and for those two to play together. They're breakdown guys. They both can score it. They can get assists. Well, now he's our highest field goal percentage shooting guard. So it's changed some things, and we need some practice. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to have a lot with getting back so late last week from the trip. But we're going to have a good practice today to prepare for that. And then the question about Chris is just it's a matter of, you know, we've used him at the 3 and the 4, and obviously Alizé Johnson has been really good. We've played 3 guards at times. Jared Rhodes has been very good. Chris is still a valuable part of the team. It's just we're deeper and we're better, and I think upon any given night, one of those guys off the bench, you know, they can help us. So that's where that's at.
Last couple of games, Alizé's had a lot fewer shots. Is that maybe the league doing a better job of scouting him, or is there something else going on there?
Oh, you know what, Harry, I think it goes back to us having to adjust. We are without a guy that caused a lot of pressure on the defense in Ronnie. And as I said, he and Daquan out there could cause a lot of problems for teams in terms of allowing other opportunities, and that's changed now. And I do think obviously there's more scouting, and people are really good coaches in this league. But that's where we have to adjust a little bit, because we're a different team now, and we certainly still have enough, but we have to adjust. So I think it's twofold. I think it is scouting and league play, but I also think, as I said, we took a guy that, while he was our second leading scorer, he may not have got the basket himself. He caused a lot of breakdowns in other areas, and we no longer have that. So we have to adjust.
Thanks a lot, Paul. Good luck.
You bet.
Your next question is from Jim Connell with the Springfield News Leader.
Hey, Paul.
Hey, Jim.
I know consistency's been an issue with you guys. Can you just talk to how frustrating that is for you as a coach, and what can you do to kind of, you know, try to get things into a more level performance?
Well, I think, Jim, we were getting more consistent. A week ago at this time, we were 2-0, and had been playing some good basketball, and then we've had the situation come about, and now thought we played our tails off at Illinois State. Didn't think we played particularly well, but we played really hard, and then I don't give Southern a lot of credit, but you're right. I don't think we played the way we needed to play Saturday. But as I said, Jim, we've got an adjustment to make now, and we need some practice time, and today will be really good for us I'm not saying reboot, and we're not changing everything we're doing, but when you take a guy out of the lineup that is that valuable, now we got to figure out some rotations again. I had shortened the bench, and so I think we were much more consistent, and we were starting to find our way. But now all that's changed, and those are the circumstances, and now we have to adjust and hopefully find some level of consistency.
Okay.
Paul, looks like that was your final question. Thank you for your time this morning. Good luck this week.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye. Let's get next to Coach Barry Hinson of Southern Illinois. The Salukis on a 3-game winning streak. They will host Illinois State on Wednesday. Good morning, Coach.
Morning, Michael.
Thank you for your patience. We're a little behind schedule.
You're okay.
All right, let's get right to the questions for you. Questions from the media for Coach Barry Hinson.
Our first question is from Todd Golden with the Trip Star.
Hi, Barry.
Hey, Todd.
Hey, I wanted to ask you about what your philosophy is on redshirting, and in relation to what it might have been 10 years ago. Obviously, some things have changed since then, notably the graduate transfer rule. But where do you kind of sit on that right now?
We're all over the board, Todd. I mean, we don't know. I mean, you look at what happened to us this year. Alabama came in and got one of the kids that we had redshirted. A kid that came into our program and told us in April that he was not going to leave. We asked him over and over if he wasn't going to leave, and then on the Sunday night before summer school started, he sent everybody a text saying that he was transferring. So in the old days, I'm like Tom Osborne used to be at Nebraska. I like to redshirt as many freshmen as that you're able to do. But now in this day and age, loyalty kind of goes out the window, and it's just a difficult scenario. I think anybody that says this is exactly what we do is, I think they live in a dream world. We redshirted a young man this year, and we hope that it pays off. I'm sitting here looking at Armand Fletcher was a redshirt. Rudy Stradniks was a redshirt. Austin Wire was a redshirt. Darren Brooks was a redshirt. Go through this program of guys that just have had great success. And this league has always been built on fourth and fifth year seniors, predominantly fifth year seniors. And when you look back to the teams that have been to the Final Four or teams that have been to the Sweet 16 or gone to the tournament and done really well, they've done that with fifth year guys. But it's a whole new season, and it's hunting season at the end. We know for a fact that there are calls being made right now on fifth-year transfer guys. And, we have a young man that's got a medical redshirt. There's no guarantee that he's going to medical or get the medical, but we think he will. I mean, we're confident or we wouldn't have done it. But now the rumor is that somebody's recruiting him. So, we're just dealing with all that. So I don't know how to answer the question anymore.
Well, I think you answered it fine. Thank you, Barry.
Thanks, Todd.
Your next question is from Todd Hefferman with the Southern Newspaper.
Hey, Barry, when you look at Hawkins and McIntosh, how do you make it difficult for them to get the ball where they want to get it Wednesday night?
We've done a great job on McIntosh. We held him to 25 in the first half last year, so I think he's really excited about coming to Carbondale. And I don't know if you can hold those guys. I mean, I've said this from day one. I think they're one of, if not the best team in the Valley. And I think there's two teams right now that have certainly, it's 8 teams under 2. And we're going to get ready to play one of them. Dan's done a great job. But when you look at this ball club, with the exception of Paris Lee, they're all exchangeable moving parts. They can all shoot. They can all penetrate. They can all pass. And their greatest asset, I think, is their athleticism on the boards. And this will be a big challenge. You don't play a lot of games when you're the underdog in your home building. And we'll certainly be underdogs on Wednesday night in our home court. But we welcome the challenge. We're excited about it. And but we know we're going to have to play our tails off.
And you don't necessarily trap a ton, but you've forced a significant amount of turnovers the last 4 or 5 games, some of them down in the post. What have you done differently to try to put more pressure on the ball?
I think you just answered it. We're trying to put more pressure on the basketball. We came out of our non-conference and after watching film over Christmas break realized that we were soft. We weren't playing hard enough. We weren't getting after it. And that was our emphasis over break. And consequently, I think we've done a better job of that. And we certainly hope it'll continue. But no, you're right. We don't trap. We don't press. We've done some pressing, but not much. I'd like to have a team that could do that. But right now it doesn't look like this team's one of those teams that has the ability to do that.
And has Armand been able to practice? And do you think he'll be available Wednesday night?
I'll tell you guys the same thing, and I've always said this. I don't play possum with our players. My gut feeling is he will not play. He's still wincing. He's still having pain. He can't cut, and he can't run and explode. So last time I checked, every one of those variables were part of college basketball. So we're going to look at him today. We're going to have him on the practice floor today, see what he does. We're doing it day by day, game to game. We did him a warm-up at Missouri State, and he still couldn't put pressure on it. So the doctors originally said it would be 2 weeks, and we're at the week and a half mark now. So, doctors pretty much know what they're doing. I'm not very good when it comes to the medical part.
Thank you, Barry.
Thanks, Todd.
Your next question is from Jim Benson with the Bloomington Pentagraph.
Hey, Barry, what does it say about your team in the last 7 minutes when O'Brien falls out the other day and you don't have Fletcher on the road against a pretty good team that you guys were able to win that game?
Jim, I think it speaks volumes. I couldn't have been more proud of the guys. I'm telling you, they're buying in, and I'm telling you, practices aren't fun. I'm in their tail every day. I'm in their tail during a game. One of our assistants said in the scout right before we ran out on the floor, "Hey, coach is going to jerk you out. Coach is going to get in your tail. Coach is not going to be happy, and this and that." And you know what? They're like an old piece of boot leather right now. I can chew on them until the day is done, and they just keep responding. So I'm really proud of them right now. They're buying in, and they're very coachable. We got a couple of new guys that quite haven't figured me out yet, but I think they're starting to figure me out. And I think, one of the things that helped us when Armand went out is that we challenged everybody to step up. And I got tickled what Mike Rodriguez said in the paper. He goes, when Sean went out of the game, he said, "I don't want to lie to you, we were all really nervous." But we got through it, and I thought that was a great growing moment for our team.
And could you just talk about Bowles' development this year? And obviously he gives you a different presence in the middle, defensively especially.
Well, the thing that he does is and everybody wants to talk about his block shots, but what he does is he alters shots, and that's his best stat. We had a kid the other night here on our floor shoot an air ball, and Teague didn't even jump up in the air, and he was in the lane when he did it, and it just shows you his presence as far as his ability to alter our block shots. And I think the biggest thing he's done is his growth, literally, Jim, in the last 3 weeks, has been his ability to be verbal. He's starting to talk. He's starting to lead. This kid's really buying in. And I think a lot of it had to do, his former assistant coach at Iowa Western came in and watched him play now, which is now the head coach, and came in to watch him play at Bradley, and I think it was just good for him to see somebody like that. And I tell you, I'm really excited. I never text kids, but you have to text T because he's not going to pick up the phone. But I texted him a long text the other night and just said how much I appreciated his maturity and how much he's grown since he's been here, and he just continues to get better.
And by the way, your defense was a little better on McIntosh in the first half last year. You held him to 22 in the first half.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I forgot about that.
Your next question is from Daniel Aller with the Evansville Courier and Press.
Actually, you already covered what I was going to ask about, so I'm good.
That's kind of what I like to do, buddy. I like to just try to answer everybody's question in one big shot. So I'm like Costco and Sam's. You can just get it all at one time.
Thanks.
Your next question is from Paul Sullentrop with the Wichita Eagle.
Hey, Barry, could you describe Paris Lee and how you've seen him progress and improve over his career, and I guess how he kind of connects all those versatile, multifaceted guys together for Illinois State?
He's the head of the snake, Paul. He's the glue. You can't take it away from him. He's going to take it away from you, and he makes everybody better, just like you said. He is the glue of that basketball team, and I love his personality. I just love it, and I would give anything if I could have his hair.
I think we all would. Thank you.
And your next question is from Harry Schroeder with the Valley Hoops Insider.
Barry, a lot of guys having great seasons in the league, but can you imagine a guy being more valuable to his team than O'Brien is to your team?
Well, first of all, Harry, I think it's apropos that when I say I'd like to have somebody's hair and have
thanks, Barry.
So I really think that's really pertinent at this time. I told Mike Reese the other day on my radio show, I am like a proud father, and I'm peacocking around with my feathers out about Sean O'Brien. I can't. I'm telling you, the growth that this kid's made, and not only the growth, but all the stuff that he's been through here, and This is a kid that we convinced to come here when nobody wanted to come here. And he comes from a family that loves basketball and follows basketball religiously. And I couldn't be any happier with her. And I think it culminated. My wife and I were eating supper the other night, and they're interviewing him on TV. And at the end of the interview, we just look at each other, and we both said, wow. And he could be, his ability to communicate with our team and now with the media and to represent our program is absolutely one of the best I've ever had. Blake Ahern was just outstanding. I mean, Blake was a media darling, and everybody loved him. And Blake knew what to say and how to say it, would say the right things. And Sean's a lot like that. Sean's done a good job, and and the thing is here, he's doing it on the floor with our guys now. He's like having a second coach out there. He's teaching, and it's just really fun to watch.
Appreciate it, Barry, and thanks for the kind comments about my hair.
Well, I'm chasing you, buddy.
Coach, that was your last question. Thanks for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
Hey, Michael. Bye-bye. Have a great day.
All right, you too. Let's get next to Marty Simmons of Evansville. The Aces playing at Missouri State to open the week on Wednesday, returning home to play Southern Illinois later in the week. Good morning, Marty.
Good morning.
How are you?
Well, we're hanging in there.
All righty. Let's get right to the questions for you. Questions for Coach Marty Simmons from the media.
Thanks, Mike.
Press star and the number 1 to ask your question. Star and the number 1. Your first question is from Todd Hefferman with the Southern Newspaper.
Hey, Marty. Not having a Gideus, obviously you've been playing a couple of games without it, but just how much pressure has it put on your defense not having a big shot blocker down there for this year? First time in a long time.
Well, it's really put pressure here the last 2 or 3 games. I think up to that point, Todd, we've done an admirable job of being a pretty good defensive team. But here recently, we just haven't. Our fundamentals are not where they need to be, and it was always nice having him back there, to block shots and change things. So we don't have him, so we've got to go back, and just continue to work, footwork, balance, positioning. We just have to do a better job as players and coaches, just as a team defensively.
And when you look at the possible matchup between Brown and Rodriguez, what has to be to your benefit, or I guess this weekend? Just talk about how well those guys have played together, Taylor and Brown, together this year.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I got the utmost respect for Rodriguez. I just happened to hear Barry talk, about Illinois State's point guard, and I think Rodriguez brings that to Southern. I mean, he's fast, he's quick. I know O'Brien's a fantastic player, one of the better players in the league, but Rodriguez is kind of the engine that drives the train, and he makes plays both offensively and defensively, and he's just a really dynamic young man. And JB's done a terrific job for us. He's been thrust into a different role from last year where he's doing, more things, I think, without the ball than probably what he did in the past. But he's certainly the engine that drives our train as well.
And how has he played with Taylor this year? How do they play off of each other right now?
They play good. I mean, I think it's they're similar in a lot of ways. Both are really good shooters. JB's really worked hard in his time here to make himself a really good shooter. They both are triple threat guys. They can both shoot it and pass it and put it on the floor. They both have good athleticism. It's Ryan's, first time through the league. He'll learn a lot. It's JB's, 4th time. So things are much slower for JB than they probably are for Ryan at this point. But Ryan's a guy that wants to be good and continues to work each and every day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Folks, that was your only line of questioning. Good luck this week, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Marty. just a scheduling note. Dan Muller of Illinois State not available today. He was scheduled to go at 11:03. Of course, we're behind schedule a little bit, but the Redbirds are in the middle of practice, and Coach Muller not available. But we do have Coach Porter Moser of Loyola with us. The Ramblers coming off of back-to-back wins, including a road win at Bradley. And at this time, we'd like to welcome Coach Porter Moser to the line. Good morning, Coach.
Morning, Mike.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Let's get right to the questions for you. Questions for Coach Porter Moser.
Press star and the number 1. Our first question is from Todd Golden with the Trip Star.
Hey, Porter.
Hey, Todd.
I had a question about what your philosophy is on redshirting, especially in relation to what it might have been 10 years ago. Obviously, there's been some changes since then, the graduate transfer rule being a big one. But what's your MO on that right now?
Well, I've had the speaker on listening. I actually was listening to what Barry said. There's a lot of truth to that, and a lot of head coaches feel the same way. We, at our head coaches meeting at the Final Four, this was a hot topic. And you'd love to redshirt kids. You love to develop them. I remember when I was at Illinois State, we redshirted Dima Otokosa, and he was, and I look back at that 5th year that he had, and wow, what a year! And you can develop kids, they mature, you can, but it's scary now. I'd have to say that I lean against it unless it's a medical reason. Like Matt Chastain has to redshirt, but I wasn't gonna. That could have been a great year to redshirt Matt Chastain before he, But we thought about it. And we're like, no. And so medically is probably the only one I would do in this day and age, and that's sad to say because I think they should do it.
Okay, thanks, Porter.
Your next question is from Paul Sullentrop with the Wichita Eagle.
Could you describe Andre Jackson? And he's kind of, I guess, got a unique skill set at his size, but scores the ball really, really well. How did you go about integrating him into the offense, and what's made him so successful so quickly here?
I love guys with angles, and he, even though he's 6'5", he is about 225, 230. So he's got a strong torso. But I love guys who knows how to get angles. He's got really good hands. He knows how to put it in the hole. And I love things that translate. In the recruiting process, he was, I think, 3rd in the nation in junior college in field goal percentage. And when you do that over a course of 30-some games, it becomes, that's something that translates. He had a high field goal percentage in high school. So, we weren't surprised that was going to translate. We were hoping that it would. As the season goes, it's an old Rick Majerus line. Everybody has a projector. And people see on film, early on in the year, he was getting the ball real easy. And I think he's got to continue to work harder to get the ball. I was happy to see him get some baskets in the Bradley game, ever since Christmas break. You see that with junior college kids sometimes too, is that in junior college, the break is about 18, 19 days. The junior college kids get to go home. Now they go to Division I, and all of a sudden it's 3. And sometimes you see a lull after their first time in Division I after Christmas, and I think he's starting to pick it up. He's had his best week of practice the days prior to the Northern Iowa and the Bradley game, and you can just see his confidence getting back again, and his the guys on the team used to call him, he had a beast mode down there. He really posted hard, and you're seeing that more in practice, and which is a good sign for us.
Thank you.
Sure.
Your next question is from Harry Schroeder with the Valley Hoops Insider.
Hey, Porter, I wanted to ask you about Dante. You got him hurt, and he came back, and he's just exploded. I think he's averaging 18 a game since then. Just
it sounded like it was a coaching move.
And then can you just kind of give us a little Wichita State scouting report?
Okay. You made it sound like it was a coaching move. I got him hurt, and he came back. He's been better.
Then he comes back, and he's great.
No, but it was, Dante's a mismatch guy, and I love mismatch guys. He's got perimeter skills. He can knock down the 3. He can put on the deck. He can post up smaller guys. So I love Dante. He's been thrown into a lot of playing time earlier in his career, which bodes well. He's had a lot of minutes, logged a lot of minutes, started a lot of games this last 3 years, and he's very, very confident. He is a very confident, tough kid, and I love that about him. I do believe he's a mismatch guy. Scouting report on Wichita. Where do you start? I just, so impressed with almost every phase of their game. I really am. I mean, they're tough as nails, obviously, but the thing that's really hard is that I think it's hard to say they got more weapons. They just put 2 guys in the NBA, but they have a ton of weapons. I mean, they got a ton of weapons. They got posts that can score. They got shooters. They got guys that can strike you. But the scariest part of all is how they go get it. They go get the offensive rebound in their transition. So they're going to guard you. I really is, really, really impressed. You heard it on the telecast yesterday. Mark Adams said it is. You'd think losing 2 NBA guys, you miss a beat, and it just goes to show you their coaching staff, their recruiting, their development, their player development, is just at the top of the game, and you just got to give them a ton of credit with all that.
Thanks a lot, Porter.
You're welcome.
Porter, that was your last question. Thanks for your time this morning. Good luck this week.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, bye-bye. Let's welcome Jeff Ruther of Drake to the line. We have the Bulldogs playing at Indiana State and then later on the week at Northern Iowa. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing great.
Good. Probably haven't had much time to take a look at film after playing yesterday, but your win against Evansville, impressive closing that one out against the Aces yesterday.
Yeah, it was, as we expected, a very hard-fought battle. 2 good teams slugging it out against one another, and just very happy for our guys. It was fun to watch them stay aggressive and confident down the stretch, and just make a lot of winning plays in crunch time on both ends of the floor. I mean, there were 8 lead changes and 4 ties, and I'll tell you, Marty just does an unbelievable job. I mean, this roster that he's got this year is just quite a bit different from last year. There's so many new faces, but yet still that purposeful offense and great defense, and we just couldn't seem to pull away, and they had some control, and like I said, back and forth, and we were fortunate we made some winning plays down the stretch.
Thank you, Coach. Let's now get to the questions for you. Questions from the media for Coach Jeff Rudder.
Our first question is from Todd Golden with the Trib Star.
Hi, Jeff.
Yeah, good morning.
I'm sure you've been asked some version of this question before, but obviously you saw the traits that, kind of saw your team struggle, obviously, early in the season. What traits did you see that you could pull them back together and start to rebuild and see a little bit of success?
Yeah, good question. Combination of talent and high character. This is a group that, we certainly had high expectations for at the beginning of the season, and just a handful of hard-fought, close losses, and which I think shows the talent part of what I said, and for this group to stay composed and persevere and experience some success here as of late, success from the standpoint of getting over the hump and recording some wins, I think that's a true test of their character as well.
Lately, Arogundade has become much more of a scoring threat for you. What has clicked with him to make him be so?
Yeah, Ori has had, prior to starting, so I think it's been 3 games that he started, but prior to that, in those 3 previous games, he had 19 rebounds, and he had scored it. I think he had a game of 14 or 15, and then, of course, it started for us the last couple of games. Conference play, his minutes are up, probably on an average of 5 to 7 minutes. He's probably getting about 23 minutes a game, and scoring's been up, shooting a great percentage from 3. I think to answer your question, is confidence. From day one with our guys this year, as any team does, you try to instill confidence in your guys individually and as a team. And with Ori, he's a talented guy, and he's had stretches of really good play and making winning plays, whether it's rising up to knock down a shot. Last night really exemplified that. I mean, prior to the 2 big threes that he hit, the one in transition and the one in the deep corner off some penetration and kick by D.J. McMurray, he had 2 drives to his left and just kind of a running left-handed layup that were two really big plays for us, and then he mixed in a pull-up jumper, and just, again, knowing that he can do it, his teammates knowing that he can do it, and just being able to carry over what he does in the practice floor to the game floor when the lights are on.
Your team has shown the ability to win now. How do you what's the next step in terms of stringing together some wins? And obviously against Indiana State on Wednesday, that's the task. But what do you want to see out of your team to consistently win?
Yeah, probably for us just to, continue to embrace the mentality of us, getting better. There's just so much room for growth still. And there's just so many hurdles that I guess you need to take throughout the course of the season. The confidence piece has been a really big hurdle for us. And, we shared with them yesterday morning at the walkthrough and shoot around that, we really felt that we had that confidence piece. We've gotten over the hump. Mississippi Valley State, a good win at home against Loyola, and then 2 tough road games. But to be able to come back at home and play with that confidence, the thing that we really tried to emphasize is that hustle board, defense and rebounding, loose balls, charges, blocks, steals, that can never be affected by whether or not we're making or missing shots. And we felt that happened a little bit on the road at Southern Illinois and at Wichita. So for us to have that grit, to control that hustle board, to win the game, the war on the boards, and hopefully combine that with some efficient offense where you're taking care of the ball. I think we just had 2 turnovers in the second half last night, and we've got a lot of threats and a lot of weapons that no one needs to force a shot or force a drive just to keep that ball movement. And I think there's been another emphasis of just trying to get more ball movement and player movement. And we want great spacing, but there's times where we're just spaced and we're trying to set some run-out ball screens, and we've tried to get a little bit more movement. I think that's really helped with some rhythm shots.
All right. Thanks a lot, Jeff.
Thank you.
Your next question is from Paul Southern-Trott with the Wichita Eagle.
Jeff, could you describe the first team meeting after Ray resigned? And, there had to be a lot of uncertainty and question among the players. What did you say to kind of, calm them and get that team moving forward after, kind of a surprise upheaval like that?
Yeah. Good morning, Paul. So that was a full day. Coach had a chance prior to, I think it was a 1:30 press conference, he had a chance to visit with the team. and of course that was a tough meeting filled with a lot of emotions for all involved. And then we had the press conference, and then later that afternoon we had a chance to meet with our team and with our staff. And the first order of business was really just trying to help our guys kind of wrap their head around, Coach's decision, and quite honestly, just how selfless that it was. Coach had just shared with me that he just felt the team, what was best for the team was a different voice. And I said, Coach, I respectfully disagree with you. I said, these guys are bought in, they're playing hard, we're in every game, we got to just stay the course. But it certainly it was taking a toll on Ray, and for him to make that decision was incredibly selfless for our team, and I'm grateful for the opportunity and support that he had in me. So we shared those kind of things with the team. And then, we had to move forward, and some of the bullet points I think that we shared with them, again, you go back to that confidence piece is, we shared that this is a partnership, and we're all on the same team, and how our staff has your backs, and we know that you'll have ours, and that, we need to find a way to just go out there and obviously play with purpose and execution, but we've got to go out there with the mentality that, hey, we're going to move the ball, we're going to make plays for one another, and when you've got a shot, you got to rise up and let it rip and think that it's the best shot in the world and have, no second thoughts. There's no second guessing, but we can't be afraid to fail. And there's just a hurdle, I think, that, we were trying to get over throughout the year. And so there was nothing that was, reinventing the wheel or anything like that. It was more just trying to, reinforce a lot of the same philosophy that we've had. And here's the other thing. I mean, you know, our goal going into this thing, whatever it's been 5-6 weeks ago, has been that we, our staff, our team, we want to try to help these guys have a quality experience, and that we want to help everyone enjoy the journey. And no one was going to take themselves too seriously. We wanted to be able to laugh and joke around a little bit and have some fun with this thing. This is college basketball, and we know that it can be awfully cutthroat at times, and there is a lot of pressure, and these guys we all invest so much into it, but it's a game. It's college basketball. It should be fun. These guys have such passion for the sport. We wanted to make sure that they truly embrace that. And the very next morning we had to practice early because of some class schedules, and went out, had a short, hard, enthusiastic practice, and it's just seemed to carry over, and we've played well in some of those early games, and certainly not perfect, and we've just continued to grow and get better. And it's honestly, we're having a blast. We've got a terrific group to coach. We've got a great staff, and trying to enjoy the journey.
Did you say anything particular, or was it of particular importance to get them to not see that as an end? That, you know, the season wasn't over at that point. You still had a lot to do.
Yeah, Paul, absolutely. We really tried to paint that picture for them. But by the same token, Paul, we wanted to take it again, coaching cliche, but a practice at a time, we'll win the day and the next game, and just to try to win possessions. You know, like Ray has done such a great job here over the last 3.5 years of laying some groundwork, such as guys practicing hard and playing hard and playing for one another, and offensively, defensively, with some really solid schemes. We felt that one of the biggest areas of growth, twofold, is one, just continued purpose and execution, you know, on both ends of the floor. There's not a coach in the country that isn't striving that from game one to the last game. But we felt that we could continue to get better in purpose and execution. And then two, again, that confidence piece of them, not being afraid to fail, going out and making plays, you know, for one another. And, you know, the last 4 or 5 minutes last night, it was just, again, so fun to watch these guys make aggressive, confident, winning plays in crunch time on both ends of the floor.
Thank you.
So one more thing, Paul, I guess along with your question is this, like, you know, we're concerned about enjoying the journey and giving our best every day. Where that destination, you know, goes, we have no idea. But we're just going to try to put our best foot forward every day and maybe just try to take some pressure off from that standpoint. Like, let's not look too far down the road. Let's just try to work to keep getting better, keep winning possessions, keep playing with that passion, big emphasis on the hustle board, and, playing for one another. And it's a group that, I'll tell you, you got 5 guys on the floor, you got 11 guys on the bench, and these guys are all pulling for one another. And the bench reactions, they're having fun. We love seeing their smiles and how they're pulling for one another, and that's certainly been a great motivating factor.
Thank you.
Coach, that was your final question. Thanks for your time and good luck this week.
Very good. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Jeff. Wichita State opens the week 14-3, 4-0, a tie with Illinois State atop the league standings. Shockers have won 7 straight games on the road, including yesterday's win at Northern Iowa. That's tied for the national lead with Kansas. And at this time, we'd like to welcome Coach Greg Marshall of Wichita State to the line. Morning, Greg.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Good. Thanks for your patience. We're a little behind schedule today. And let's go ahead and get right to the questions from the media. Questions for Coach Greg Marshall.
Press star and the number 1 to ask a question. Star and the number 1. Your first question is from Todd Golden with the Trib Star.
Wanted to ask you about redshirting and what your philosophy is on it, and maybe how it's been changed, or maybe not, over the last 10 years, given the graduate transfer rule and a few other things. Where do you sit on that?
We've always liked, or I personally have always liked redshirting. Sometimes it's a debate amongst my staff. You know, the first thing that I've tried to do at Winthrop previously and now Wichita State is you make decisions in your program based on the long-term health of your program. You know, You don't go in and say, okay, we have to win right now, or this is the most important year ever. So I've always tried to think long term, and it's just a fact. The great majority of players are better at 22 or 23 than they are at 17, 18. So it makes sense, but then you have to be willing to, and I don't force it on anyone. I mean, I had meetings with every freshman in my program last year as a collective group, and I said, if anyone wants to redshirt, I mean, once we start playing, very few of you are going to play. And Marcus McDuffie was in that group, along with Landry Shamet and Eric Hamilton and a few others. And, Marcus actually was interested in redshirting, and then he decided not to and became Rookie of the Year. So it's an inexact science, just as recruiting is, but I like it. And we haven't been hit or affected with the graduate transfer thing on outgoing, an export, if you will. We did have one import, being Anton Grady last year, but we just haven't been hurt by that. Or I have seen a lot of programs that have been hurt by it, and you just wouldn't want to have that happen. And I don't think that's a big problem for us. I mean, we, for some reason, our guys are pretty content and happy to be here, and they're treated well and they play hard, and we've won a lot of games, so it just hasn't been a problem. I mean, we could have lost Ron Baker and Evan Wessel and guys like that. We've redshirted them in the past, but in the end, I like redshirting, and I do see how the fifth year thing could be a factor for folks, but I still am a proponent of it.
Success has kind of been your program from losing guys, but have you seen the quality of the league be hurt by it, in terms of some of the other teams being rated for players who may or may not have been redshirted, but certainly it leaves them vulnerable to that?
Yeah, I don't really know. The only one that I know of offhand is Sola from Southern Illinois. You'd have to refresh me on other fifth-year transfers in the league in the last couple of years, but I know there's been a lot of transfers, but not fifth-year transfers to my knowledge.
Okay, thanks a lot, Greg.
Your next question is from Jim Benson with the Bloomington Pantograph.
Greg, could you talk a little bit about your team's defense since that Oklahoma State game? Obviously, it seems like you're getting back to the standard that you would probably like, and how close are you, do you think, to being the kind of defensive team you want this team to be?
Well, I think, Jim, we still have a long way to go. I mean, the adage in our program is you strive for perfection, you oftentimes can achieve excellence, and that would mean a shutout. That's probably not going to happen, but we certainly attempt to defend hard every possession. As a coaching staff, you can see anguish in our faces when we allow an easy basket or whatnot. So we're going to continue to try to get better. I still think there's a lot of room for improvement, but we just didn't compete in that Oklahoma State game, which is really, really disappointing to me. And they were very, very good and just came out and smacked us in the mouth multiple times, and we elected not to get up off the canvas. So that's something that we've addressed, and hopefully it won't happen again.
And offensively, are you giving this team a little more freedom maybe than in the past? It seems like your scores are a little bit higher than normal, or is that just kind of the way it's been playing out?
I don't know about that. I mean, I think I've always given my guys freedom. We try to get guys in here that can make plays and not just make shots, but set good screens and make good passes and are unselfish. And we try to build a culture of that. And the guys here are, I think we have a lot of guys now that can score the ball and make plays. So maybe that is the result of the 80 points that we're scoring. A funny story, I told
I told our team coming back from Canada this summer, where we were just abysmal defensively, which didn't surprise me. We had so many new guys in different roles and whatnot. And we gave up 80 points a game in that tour. And I told them, I said, we may score 80 points a handful of times this year. So if you guys plan on giving up 80 a game, it's going to be a long, long season and not a lot of fun. And Darrell Willis always reminds me now how many times we've scored 80 points. After every game we score 80. He goes, well, Coach, there's 6 or 7. There's the number 8. I don't know how many we scored 80 or more, but it's more than we normally do. And it's just because we've got a lot of talented players and maybe a little bit about the new emphasis on the rules. People get to the foul line a little more.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Coach, that was your final question. Thanks for your time and good luck this week.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Greg. This does wrap up our weekly call. We'll ask all beat writers to stay on the line, please, for a brief roundtable of our beat writers, and the rest of you can please disconnect at this time. Thank you.
Every road to St. Louis starts on the Missouri Valley Conference campus and converges under the gleaming reflection of Arch Madness. Don't miss the 2017 State Farm MVC Men's Basketball Championship, March 2nd through 5th at Scott Trade Center, presented by Aetna and Fox Sports Midwest. Get your tickets and get on the road to Arch Madness as 10 Missouri Valley teams battle it out for a final march to Selection Sunday. Get your tickets and get to St. Louis for Arch Madness.